Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Familiar. Does that make sense? I don't think it really makes sense. Anyways, as I was saying, yeah, there's a lot of things that we do as people that's kind of out of habit. Do you ever think to wonder why? And that's what I'm going to talk about. The thing I'm referring to is comfort. And if you're going to question me, be like, comfort? What do you mean by that? I'm talking about just when content feels comfortable. You ever find yourself putting something in the background that you don't really notice or pay attention to? Next you know, you're five videos into a channel, or you're rewatching the same video over and over, or even something you're not paying attention to. Heck, sometimes it feels like the content we put on is just existing instead of us actually engaging with it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. So if you're ready to hear me yap a little bit more, then strap on in and let's get into this conversation. So this chapter of the video is going to be not too big, but I just wanted to list a couple of comfort types, of comfort content types. So by comfort content, I'm referring to the type of things that you kind of watch with the brain turned off, and that kind of varies person to person. For some people, it's a type of genre. For some people, it's something nostalgic, and for other people, it's just an overall type of media. So, for example, a really popular one right now would probably be short form content. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. That would be considered comfort content. Another one would be an old movie you like, maybe a movie you grew up with, or maybe a movie that you have a special memory with, maybe a really short, first date, or something you watch with your parents often, something familiar, I guess you could say. Another form would probably be just YouTube videos, but commentary YouTube videos. I guess you can consider me a comfort type now. If I'm your comfort type, go ahead and let me know. Make my day. But besides the point, things like that. You might see the Call of Duty gameplay, or maybe someone in the background in the podcast, or even just some low stimulation things like music. Like a lo-fi channel or background jazz. These are all types of comfort content. At least that's what I would consider comfort content, and that's what I'm referring to in this video. So I just wanted to go ahead and lay a foundation of the type of comfort content, and I want to get a little more into possibly, why they're comfort content and what makes them so comfortable. Now, onto the whys. Up to this point, you're probably wondering, okay, sure, you told me what comfort content is, but you haven't said what makes it comfort content. Like, why can't, I don't know, my random favorite bottle of soda be comfort content? Or why can't the certain song I hear every now and then is comfort content? I personally think there's specific things that make it content comfortable. So let me start with, why we find it comfortable. It's no secret that life's tough. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of stress going around. Let's be real with that. And sometimes we're just overloaded with all the information that we have at our disposal. We're constantly stimulated with this happened on the news, or this is happening in my life, or all the short form content, or all the content we absorb. A lot of it can be overwhelming, realistically. We got monkey brains. We're only able to take so much. We all got monkey brains. I got a chipmunk brain, but you know what I mean. And our mammal brains aren't really meant for this type of thing. And then there's decision fatigue. I don't know if y'all ever get that, but just a little, in case you don't know what decision fatigue is. imagine you had a long day at work or school and you're just constantly doing stuff, coming to conclusions, and then you go to, let's say Walmart or Ralph's or not Costco, Kroger, whatever you got around you. You go in and you're like, man, I want a soda and I want a bag of chips. You're not gonna feel like you want to decide anything. You're probably gonna grab the first thing there. If you're stuck between, I want a grape soda or maybe I want a cream soda, you might just get the first one you see. And then if you want some chips, you might get some Doritos or you might get some Hot Cheetos. You're probably gonna get the first one you see. If you have that busy day, you're tired and you get that decision fatigue. You don't feel like doing anything. You don't want to make that choice. It's a natural thing that happens to our brain. We can only do so many decisions per day. I don't remember the exact number, but there's a certain amount of decisions we can do per day. And our culture is just filled with anxiety. I know no one wants to admit it, and a lot of people want to be like, oh, that's very weak of you if you admit you're stressed or anxious. We're human. Well, you're human. I'm a chipmunk. Even chipmunks get anxious. And I think with that, it just kind of means like we have a lot of anxiety going around, and there's always expectations. So there's all this weight on our shoulders, to be fair. So there's those reasons are why we look for comfort content. But the reason they're comfortable is because, well, they help with that, analysis paralysis or the decision paralysis. We also feel like we're accompanied with the content because we're familiar with it. And we don't have to really decide, man, like, what should I watch? Am I in the mood? Will it put me in a worse mood? Will I feel like I'll waste my time? And the content sometimes is just presence. I don't know if you saw my dating is a mess video, but to kind of circle back to that, check it out if you haven't. It was one of the first videos, not my best, but circle back to it if you want. But it basically, shows the same issue with dating is that we're a lonely generation. Let's be realistic here. And with that, a lot of people just want content as presence, So not only does it help you feel like if I put something I already know I like, so let's say a movie, let's say I really like a early cartoon that I used to watch growing up. If I put that and I rewatch it, or a show that I've already seen, and I rewatch it again and again and again, because I know how it ends and I like it, it makes you feel better for multiple reasons. Again, for one, I don't have to decide, do I take a chance on a movie I might not like, or do I watch something I know I like? And it helps you deal with that analysis paralysis or that decision making. And then when it comes to like the whole anxiety thing and the loneliness part of the generation, the content, just having it there as a presence makes a big difference. It does. Say you had a long day at work, you're laying in bed and you're exhausted, but you don't want to feel like you're just alone. Let's be honest here. You put that video on that in the background. Again, it doesn't have to be something you just know, but it could be like commentary. It's just a voice in the background, gives you that atmosphere and gives you that feeling of, there's presence, there's someone accompanying. And it's just the way things has become now. I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm not saying it should be okay, but I'm saying that's how things are now. So, for those multiple reasons, it's a comfort thing, especially, when it goes back to nostalgia, again, plug in the video if you haven't seen it. Nostalgia really helps bring us to a mindset of, when quote unquote things were better, or rose-tinted glasses. So you just might put on a show that you used to grow up watching, like I said earlier, and because it just helps you feel more comfort, makes you feel less anxious, more relaxed, and overall just kind of, again, takes the load off mentally, so you don't have to go and think about coming to another decision. But yeah, that's why it's comfortable. That's why this content comfortable is what it is. And in the next chapter, I kind of want to talk about whether this is good or bad, because on paper it sounds like, oh, there's no issue, but there could be some issues. There's always a middle ground, there's always two sides, so I want to look into that as well. Now, this one might feel like a 180, like a gotcha, because I spent all this time talking about why people like comfort and what comfort content is. But now I'm gonna look into, is comfort okay? See, and what I mean by that is like, comfort's not a bad thing. We need relaxation. We need to be comfortable every now and then. That's natural. That's actually a good thing. What I mean by that is, can you be such a thing as too comfortable? I say yes. Let me elaborate. Why am I saying that too much comfort is bad? Well, there's a difference between being comfortable and avoiding something. Because you can be comfortable like, man, I'd had a long day, I just want a break. Kind of like a break, a rest day when working out. But it's kind of like you took too many rest days. At that point, can you even say you work out anymore at that point? Or you're just someone that likes to do nothing? What I mean by that is, yeah, I could always watch the things that make me comfortable. Or I could always be passively watching it, the stuff I know. And just not ever really challenge myself or let myself get uncomfortable with that, you know? So you kind of avoid the things that need you to adapt as a person or need to grow as a person. Because if you're just stuck in the cycle of what you know and only what you know, you never really grow, you know? And that's really something I would say is a big issue overall with things, but specifically with the content that makes you comfortable, you can't really, you gotta break out a shell every now and then. And it's also got a lot of stuff gone too that we used to do. We don't really know how to be idle anymore. We don't know how to just exist. We feel like we're not constantly consuming something. We're not constantly comfortable. We're uncomfortable. And we don't like being uncomfortable, but sometimes you have to be to grow. We don't sit in silence. We don't let our thoughts wander, which is what we need to do. We don't let ourselves get bored. If we're not bored, then we don't really know when to enjoy and when things are fun. We're always stimulated. We're always with our comfort content, always there idling. If we're not idling with something in the background, we're never really going to be able to enjoy new things, experience new things, get uncomfortable, because we're too comfortable being comfortable. And that's never going to work out for us. So I just think, it's not necessarily bad to be comfortable every now and then. But like everything else, in moderation, it's key. If you don't moderate yourself, you just let yourself run wild. I'm only going to watch the same thing over and over. Then you kind of become this closed-in shell. And then you lose connection with people. And you lose opportunities. And you move on through life not really growing as a person. I mean, can you really say you're living? Or you're just existing? And even then, are you really existing? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. So to wrap this all up, I guess the best thing I could probably say is that if you want to be comfortable, there's nothing wrong with that. But from a place of care, I say just make yourself uncomfortable every now and then. Not in a dangerous way, in a natural way. Go interact with people. Feeling lonely, get out there and meet someone. Reach out to an old friend. It's just, I say it because I care, not because I'm judging. We all get lonely, but we could also change that. That's one of the things you can change. So comfort content, I understand comfort content is important. It really is. Without it, we wouldn't have that outlet. And it helps a lot of people, especially when things are tough. Believe me, I've been there. We've all been there. We're just in a really low place, and you just need that little hit of comfort from that content. Or you just need that background noise to distract you so you can, knock out for the night. I get it. Just don't let it become a habit. Again, from a place of care, I say that. Comfort content doesn't really ask anything of you. It's just there. And sometimes that's what people need. But sometimes people also need people. But that wraps that up. But if y'all liked what you saw, what you heard, and you don't mind me yapping, feel free to give me some content ideas or some things you want to hear me yap about. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. But other than that, Chip is out.